Good evening. I know we've got everyone coming on in. We'll get started in a few moments here. All right. Welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. We're here to have a real conversation about financial confidence, what it looks like, how to build it, and how to create a financial plan that works for you. While everyone is getting settled, I want you to think about this. If you had complete financial confidence, what would that look like? Would it be more choices? Would it be less stress? The ability to say yes to things without worrying about the money. That's what we're here to explore today.
Kate, you're absolutely right. I want to do all of those things. This isn't about spreadsheets and it isn't about jargon. It's about real life strategies to help you feel in control of your money and not the other way around.
You're right, Wendy. You're right on that one. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce myself and the incredible women joining me today. I'm Kate Sussman. I'm a financial advisor with Vita Financial. It's my pleasure to help clients gain clarity and confidence in their financial future. My passion is helping women take control of their money, build wealth on their own terms, and feel empowered in financial decisions, whether it's planning for retirement, investing, or protecting their legacy. I know from experience that financial confidence doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from knowing enough to take action. And that's exactly what we're here to talk about today. Now, let me introduce these amazing women, each of whom bring a unique perspective on financial confidence and success. I'm going to start first with Wendy Wilson. She is our implementation specialist here at Vita Financial. Wendy turned her own financial avoidance into empowerment and now helps others take control of their finances.
I sure do.
Catherine Bonnet is a legacy and family planning advocate. Catherine balances family and finances, ensuring women are equipped to protect what they build for their loved ones.
Oh, that's me.
And Jennifer Perry, founder and CEO, Shiro Life and Empowerment Coaching. Jennifer helps women break through financial fears, transform their mindset, and build lasting confidence with money. Now that you've met our panel, let's start with something that affects so many women: how to take charge of your financial future. Many women feel like they should know more about finances, but the truth is, most of us were never taught. Instead of feeling behind, let's focus on what we can do moving forward. Wendy, do you mind sharing your story?
Oh, of course not. That's what I'm here for. So, as one of the fabulous Gen Xers here at Vita Financial, who you will find and meet and enjoy spending time with, I have been at many places before Vita because I've been in the workforce for decades now. It's hard to say that, but decades now. So in my past, you're in a job and you have a 401k. Awesome. Yay. You're earning money. You're saving money. Well, you leave that job and then you have this 401k that's just sitting over here and you're not contributing to it anymore. And you've got a new 401k that's over here at this new job. And so I kind of let the 401k, the old one, just sit over there and not move with me, even into the new job. I would get the statements in the mail and they would come and they would sit on my desk because I had a million and one other things to think about. And it was stressful and it was scary to sit there and go, I don't know how to do this. I don't know what I need to do. No one explained to me how to get it rolled over. No one took my hand and held it and said, okay, we've got this. Let's get this done for you. And I had other things I was dealing with, like oh yeah, my 2-year-old's here and he's sick and I'm dealing with vomit on my shoulder. So no, I'm not going to deal with this right now. It's just it's how life goes. Life happens and you just don't have time to really dive into it. And it was also daunting. I was scared of being able to make the right decisions. It's a lot of money sitting in a 401k. You don't want that money to be mishandled. You don't want it to be, you don't want to do the wrong things with it. So I had a fear. Fast forward some few years later, I get a job here at Vita Financial. I've been here for a little over a year. It's a great place to be. Um, guess what I'm doing now?
I know
Kate, you
what
know
you're
what I'm
doing.
doing now. You
I
don't
know
have
what
to.
you're doing.
You know what I'm doing. I literally am the person who will help you with your 401ks and get them moved to Vita Financial so that we can take care of them for you, to consolidate all of those leftover 401ks that you had in other jobs. And I have a fact for you. Thank you, Jennifer Perry, because you helped me look up this fact the other day. But did you know that there are 29.2 million orphaned 401ks just sitting out there, not being brought over and being used or not being contributed to, and so therefore kind of orphaned at the old companies in the amount of $1.65 trillion dollars. Wow.
Yeah, that's a
So
lot.
that's my story. I used to be scared. I'm now not, and I'm now here helping you guys with your financial journey.
If you've ever put off a financial decision because it felt overwhelming, you're not alone. The key isn't doing everything at once, it's just starting somewhere. Um,
Exactly.
Now, let's talk exactly how to create a plan that fits your life. Money isn't just about numbers, it's emotional, right, Jennifer?
It sure is.
Do you mind sharing a little bit more about your story?
Oh, absolutely. I'm very excited to be here. And for those of you who are here, thank you, first of all, for being here, for showing up for yourself. There's something that brought you here with us. We're happy that you're here. And yes, money is way more than numbers. It's very, very emotional. And I have a pretty unique perspective on it, considering my entire career up until about 5 years ago was helping women with their money. And I'm a registered financial consultant, made a shift into financial therapy because it is emotional. As women and people in general, we have money personalities, and most of us have a combination of more than one. There's people that are savers and security seekers and risk takers. And a lot of times we see the disconnect, Wendy, back to your story, to where you weren't opening your statements. You were afraid. There's just something there that was like, oh, I don't want to open it because maybe it went down. Well, maybe it could have gone up, right? But there was a disconnect for you. So understanding the emotional ties. And that's one of the things that I do now. I really help people understand their emotional connection with money. And for a lot of women coming out of divorce, or maybe you're a single mom like I was at some point, and I'd gone through divorce, you have to understand how you relate to money. And it's okay if you don't have a relationship with money at all, but it's understanding what your financial DNA is. And over the past 20 some years, I've been able to help women really put together plans that work for them, plans to support their lifestyle. Because statistically, we're going to outlive our husbands,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we are going to be solely responsible not only for our taking care of ourselves physically, but financially. And that can be really scary. And being able to watch my clients go through so many different things in their life and everything be planned for, everything having a purpose, because women are purpose-driven investors. That's what we do. We want to make sure that if my husband is no longer here, that we're safe and that we're taken care of. If we've gone through a divorce, what it looks like, what happens if the child support runs out or the alimony runs out, what does that mean for me? If I lose my job, and something that we all experienced back in 2020, right? We all experienced a pandemic.
Yeah.
And because I had worked so closely with my clients, just like Vita does with their clients and the solutions that they provide for them, my clients weren't calling me because they had money concerns. We had planned for it. We had planned for something that none of us had ever expected, but we had planned for it. So they were calling because they had questions about life. They had questions about what does it mean for me now? What's next for me? So it was good to know that when something that none of us saw coming happened, financially, they were prepared, which then really leads into what happened in my life 3 years ago. I was rocking and rolling, doing financial planning and coaching at the same time, and I got my COVID vaccines. And 4 months later, I didn't feel really good. Something was wrong. I went to get up 3 days before Christmas and I had a hard time lifting my foot and putting it up onto the curb. And my chiropractor said, why don't you just go into the doctor's, or how about better yet, go to the ER. It's 3 days before Christmas, Jennifer. I don't want you worrying about anything during the holidays. Just go get checked. And within 29 hours, I was fighting for my life. I was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome. I was paralyzed essentially from the top of my head to the tips of my toes. And by December the 29th, my face, half of my face, I had Bell's palsy. I couldn't move. I was 50 years old. I had just turned 50. I was in a Depends, laying in a bed, holding my husband's hand, couldn't feel it. But my entire world stopped. And if we had not, as a couple and as a family, prepared for the when life happens, it would have completely destroyed us. But because we had been very prudent and planning for the things that could happen, it essentially it gave me the ability for us to focus on getting me better. And I spent the 50th year of my life learning to walk again, learning to use my hands, learning to take care of myself, learning to drive. And if you would have told me that that would have ever happened in my life, I would have never believed it. But the fact that we had savings that could help offset the cost of our health benefits, I didn't lose. I mean, of course, I couldn't work. I was working with my mind only, but our income was protected. If I needed to have a ramp permanently in because they weren't sure if I was ever going to walk again, if we needed to do that, I could have used my life insurance because it had living benefits. So it's all about being prepared because life is going to happen. And that's the main thing that I wanted to just explain to you as we go through the rest of the seminar and the workshop and we get to know one another is you can have a plan that fits exactly what you need in every aspect of your life. And the people on this call here for you, Kate and Wendy, they're the people that are going to help you do that. I'm doing great now, as you can tell. Obviously, I still struggle with my legs, but everybody asks me that. But for me, I think it's just understanding that, yes, it can be scary. Yes, the conversations are really difficult to have, but you have to have them. And because we see what happens when you don't prepare, that's why it's so important for us to be here for you. So thank you, Kate, for giving me this opportunity to be here and to share a little bit of my story.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate you sharing your personal story because not only did you go through something that is unimaginable, but also being able to share the fact that you weren't preparing for this, but you were
Yeah,
prepared. So
exactly.
can I ask you, the most important thing when it comes to planning? Is it getting started? If progress is more important than perfection, what do you think is the most important thing to have as part of your plan?
Well, the first thing, y'all have done the first step. You're here. You're here, so you should, give yourself a hand clap. We are very, very happy that you are here. It's always progress over perfection, always. For a lot of women, they don't know what resources are available. They don't know how to get started. So that's why we've created a very safe environment. You can ask any question. We're going to meet you where you're at. I know that's
Mhm.
exactly what Vita's mission is, owning your story, owning where you are, owning what your life is about. That's what they're going to help you do. And that's why ask the questions. you know, talk with Kate, sit down, make sure that you have an opportunity to share your own personal story, because your story is different than mine. But we all have to be prepared. We have to protect the thing. So this is the first step. And I'm sure at the end of this, you're going to take the second.
I cannot tell you how much I appreciate hearing you say that. I know that, the plan often takes a long time, but then once it's in place, things can move smoothly because you've already thought of all these details. One of the other biggest steps in financial confidence is learning how to grow your money. So let's talk a little about investing. Most of the women I talk to aren't afraid of investing, they're afraid of getting it wrong. So I want to see if we can't have a conversation about simplifying it. I usually look at the approach most women get is thinking about the emergency savings, then thinking about the insurance, the protection, and then thinking about the growth. I want to hear from the three of you. What does smart money management look like for you?
Ooh, smart money management. For me, it's using that horrible word, but it starts with a B, but I won't say it. Right, Jennifer? I'm not supposed to use the
Okay.
B-U-G-G-E-D
We call it a lifestyle
word.
plan.
Right,
The
lifestyle.
clients like to call it a lifestyle.
Lifestyle.
Lifestyle plan. You start with that and you look at all the things that you feel like you need to pay for. But I also like to pay myself first. I like to make sure that I am taking some kind of a percentage of my paycheck that I'm putting towards savings, towards something that I deem is important. And that changes. Sometimes it's for a big cruise that we're going to take with our family. I have an 18-year-old who is graduating high school this year. So sometimes I'm putting money away for that. But it just depends on the time each month that and each paycheck and what I deem is important to pay myself. I'm going to pay myself first because life isn't worth living if I don't have those wonderful things that I've got planned that I want to do, that I want to celebrate. So I'm going to pay myself first. That's the first thing I want to say.
Self-care is not selfish.
Yes.
Catherine, I know you've got insight as to when it comes to your money management, and I know Jennifer's going to help us too.
You want me to tell my story, or you want me to share? I'll share you also what I think it's important to have savings, to have something in savings. People will tell you anywhere from 3 months, 6 months, a year, of whatever your salary is for those, life happen events. You need a new roof, your washing machine, like my dishwasher, I had water all over my floor a few years ago. Those things, right? Those life events. So I would definitely say savings in terms of, I am very much an immediate need person. I think it's very hard for us to all. I now look more forward thinking, but it's hard to do that. But yeah. You want me to share my story?
Not yet. Not yet.
I didn't
But I do want you to share your story. Jennifer, with Wendy and Catherine sharing their mindset when it comes to the money management, do you find that this is something common, or what have you recognized as being a money management focus?
So what I like to do when we start talking about it, everybody used to use this bucket system, right? Where you have your buckets of money, you have your short term, your mid, your long term. We like to call them purses of money around here because I deal with women. So they understand you have a red purse, a green purse, a blue purse. So we kind of divide it up. You have things that like to Catherine's point and Wendy's point, you're saving for things or you want to have immediate needs. 3 to 6 months is always good, having something that is set aside. But then making sure that you're looking at if you have a vacation you want to go on, or if maybe your kids are getting married, or you're planning to have a baby or buy a house. So it's literally just having a plan for each little bit of your money, because if you don't manage your money is going to manage you. So it's very, very important to make sure that you have that. And sitting down with someone like you can really help them get clarity on that, because it's once you understand for somebody what's important to money, what's important about their money for them, then they're going to talk about their short-term goals. They're going to talk about, hey, in the future, we'd like to go on a really big vacation, or we'd like to take the kids and the grandkids and all of that on vacation. You're just assigning a task for every dollar that you make. So it's good to have a strategy for immediate. It's also a very good way to get disciplined on how to start investing. So some of my clients have never invested. And I said, well, how about you get to a point where you have $500 or $1,000 in the bank and you don't touch it for 6 months? Okay, then you don't touch it for a year. Well, if you know you can be disciplined, and now maybe we start looking at other things that you can invest in, but you want to make sure that there's that discipline and also a strategy to assign each one of your dollars. So I think what y'all are talking about is it's spot on, having your emergency funds in place and then planning your life out, right? You don't work all this time for you not to enjoy your life.
So it's like too many women wait until they have the extra money to invest. But the truth is, starting small is better than not starting at all. The key is consistency, and that's where sometimes the automation or the direct deposits or the direct transfers that are set up, that can be helpful.
Exactly.
I can't agree with you. I'm so sorry. I can't agree. I got you, Catherine. Go ahead.
For women.
No, I was just gonna say, to Wendy's point too, it's like, if we don't pay ourselves first, if we don't take care of ourselves first and say, we were guilty of this in the very beginning of our marriage. We knew we needed to pay ourselves first, but our mindset was opposite. And it was, looking at our lifestyle, at the end of the month, if we go by this, we should have X amount of dollars left over, and then we'll put that away. Well, if that's the mindset, let's just be honest with ourselves. It's not going to be there, especially as women. I mean, for as much as I love to save, I also love to spend. So if I see a good sale or I see a great pair of shoes, that money isn't going to be there at the end of the month to save. So, it is important to have that mindset of, I think, paying yourself first.
I know investing, again, can be something that's daunting because it feels risky. Most women are more conservative or are safer when it comes to their money. It's not about the risks, it's about creating more options for your future. Mm-hmm. When I think about having those options, I want to talk about protecting what you're building. So this is where I want to have you share your story, Catherine, because the most loving thing you can do for your family is make sure that they are financially prepared for the unexpected. Do you mind sharing a little bit now, Catherine? I'm so sorry I cut you off earlier.
No, that's totally fine. And it didn't know where all that fit in, so I'm fine. So I will just go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and give you the ending, and then I'm going to backtrack. The ending is my husband died 3.5 years ago in September of 2021. But Kate said, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I am a stay-at-home mom because we planned and because he planned. So years ago when I have 3 children, and when we had 2, we bought our first life insurance policies. Both of us did, and we did it because we felt like we needed to be protected. Both of us, in the event something happened. I wasn't working then, but even I got life insurance because the idea was, well, if something happened to me, I was the caregiver, and my husband traveled a lot for work. He was gone Monday through Friday, and we needed to know that he could continue his work. And if he needed, that money could be used for a nanny or to move his mom in, or a family friend or relative or whatever. But that money then was there was protections in place that didn't have to disrupt the lifestyle that we were currently living. There wasn't going to be a big readjustment of funds. And it's interesting because it was based off of his salary then, which is how I think how we based off how much life insurance you need. And so as time grew, my husband, most people get insurance with work. I would always say, when you're looking at benefits packages, whether you're working or it's your spouse, look at what those benefits are, because some people depending on your level of where you are in a company, is what you get. Some people, it's just a flat rate. It's just a flat payment. That's very important, because what that is probably not going to be enough to cover your family in the event that the unthinkable happens. And we don't want to think about that, but and it's the worst kind of conversation probably to have to say, what if this happens? What does my life look like? But you need to be having those conversations. We did I will tell you, we did at every juncture. When my mom died, we had the conversation. When a family friend died, we had the conversation. When we found out that an aunt had a stroke, we had the conversation, just to make sure it was a way to give ourselves a gut check of, okay, do we have enough? Are we in the right place? And so in 2014, my husband, at the age of 44, had a quintuple bypass. He had 5 blockages, 80% and above. He came out like a champ and did amazing. Big gut check on a lot of things for us at that time. But when a few years later, when we moved to Charleston, our insurance agent at State Farm, of all places, somehow convinced him, or he was thinking about it, and he ended up with another life insurance policy. So I also want to express the importance that it's okay to have more than one policy. At the end of the day, my husband died. I had his work policy. I had the one that we had from years ago from Northwestern Mutual, and we had one from State Farm. And I could tell you that, being a stay-at-home mom, I was so in shock by his death. He was in the hospital for 19 days. But I can tell you one thing: I didn't worry how I was going to pay the bills. Now, I was worried how long the money was going to last, because I didn't know anything about money. I figured out how much I was getting, and my thought process was, if I put it into an account and I take out about this much a month, then it'll last me X number of years. And at that point, maybe I won't need to go back to work. But if I do need to go back to work, like, it would be okay. Like, but maybe I'll be old enough, I'll be getting Social Security if that still exists. So all these things are going through my head. Well, his best friend was a financial advisor. He said, let me help you. He took everything. And when we met to go over it all, he looked at me and he said, the very first thing he said was, you don't need to go back to work. You go back to work at any point in time because you want to. You have enough money to take care of you. And I'm living off the interest of the life insurance. So that's also something that's really important to understand, that so also as a result of that, I've also have a built-in legacy for my kids. There's stuff that's built in. Now, my kids have said, leave me with nothing. That's fine. I don't care. I want to make sure you spend it and you have a good life. But, my goal is to be able to leave them some of it, but I want to spend a lot of it too as I get older. Yeah. But I don't think in that respect, you really can over plan. Sadly, the best part, you hope you don't have to use it, right? It's like having car insurance or homeowners insurance, but prepare yourself and plan. So in the event that something happens, because let me tell you, grieving the death of a spouse, I'm a really strong person, and it took me not just to my knees, it took me to the ground for a long time. And if I had not had that, if we didn't have that, I don't know that we would have stayed in our house. I just don't know that we'd be where we are today. So I am extremely, well, I hate my husband's not here. Every day I see what we have. Everything that I have is a result really of that love that he had for me and for my girls. And I'm going to leave you with this. He said in a book that he wrote in, that he journaled in with his heart surgery, He thought he was going to die. He left the girls all these tips. One of the things he said was, money doesn't buy happiness, but it gives you options. And I think that that's what all of this is about. It's not about buying you the happiness. It's about giving you the options to be able to have the lifestyle that you want for yourself, for your spouse, for your kids, for your grandkids, to be able to leave that legacy, to be able to take the trips, have the nice wedding, or, whatever it is you want to do with your life.
Catherine, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you sharing the details of your story, because clearly your heart is still in it. Grief is not something that has a timeline on it. And one of the most loving things that your husband did for you was to not disrupt your grief. He gave you the options so that you could be available for your daughters.
Absolutely.
That is a gift. And I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you sharing that story.
Absolutely.
I know. I started crying.
No, we're amongst friends. This is no. When it comes to legacy planning, I know sometimes, people think like, oh, I don't have all that, but it's not about the money. It's about making the life easier for the people you love and that you leave behind. So how do we put all of this together and actually take action? I just want to share that there are several things that we could do today, like checking your 401k. Like Wendy didn't want to. Make sure,
Don't be like
have
me.
you checked on all your 401ks? Write down your top financial goals for the next 12 months. I'm thinking about Jennifer Perry and how she was saying, all right, have that emergency savings, leave it for 6 months, leave it for 5 months, and even have one financial conversation, whether it be with your partner, a friend, or a professional. I'm really taking away from this conversation is the best time to take control of your financials, your finances, your money was yesterday, and the second best time is right now. I want to know from the three of you, if you had your bestie right here, if you had your sister right here, your mother right here, your wife, the women in your life, what would you really want to share with them so that they know more or that they feel empowered to move forward when it comes to asking the questions and having those difficult conversations?
I would share. Oh, I'm sorry, Catherine, you want to go? You go. You raised your hand. I did not.
You're so sweet, Wendy. I would say have the hard conversations. You have to talk about what you want your life to look like together. We always talked about what we wanted our life to look like as we were growing older, as we became empty nesters, as we prepared for grandchildren, and what life was going to be like sitting when we were 80, sitting on the front porch, drinking a glass of wine, watching grandkids, playing in the yard. That's really important. But we also talked about, what if you leave? What if you leave me? What if something not, and for us, it wasn't divorce, but it was, what if you die? What's it going to be like? Like, what's going to happen? I mean, we went so far as to talk about dating. Would we even want somebody to date? Like, weird things to think about, but at the same time, right? Somebody's getting left behind. And like, that was me, and so I would just say, like, you gotta talk about it, and you gotta keep talking about it. And even if somebody doesn't want to, it's okay if they don't want to talk about it from their perspective of how they feel, but they should at least listen to you. If you want to talk about it and talk about your fears, talk about your successes, to be like, look at what we did this year, look at how much money we saved, or look at what we planned for. You need to be able to say that as well. They can listen. They don't always have to speak, but having the two-way conversation is definitely a lot better.
Yeah.
I love that you included that because, it's just so typical that, women want to talk. We want to share, thoughts and ideas and things that we've done or seen. Men want to fix it. So I'm with you on the having the conversations. It's important. Wendy, you have the floor.
Okay. I would want to tell my wonderful female friends, sisters, mom in my life that don't let fear and anxiety step in your way, to take one step, just one. Look at one thing that you can make a difference in your financial future and in your financial goals. One thing. Maybe it's that 401k. Maybe it's just opening an IRA and putting some money into it, knowing that, okay, I've made this one step, I've done this one thing. Yay, go me. Now I can go and celebrate and go get a manicure because I did something hard today by facing something that was scary. I would say, don't hold back. Just take that step. Do the one thing. And yeah, get that manicure because you deserve it. That's what I would say.
Yes, self-care is not selfish.
Exactly.
Jennifer, what what are the pieces that you find um, really are what inspires women to take the action, to take that next step?
Well, I can tell you that, I mean, especially as an empowerment coach, even with financial, like I meet most of my clients when a life event happens, when they go through a divorce, when a spouse passes away, when they lose their job, when something in their life happens that completely alters their existence. And sometimes I can tell you more of the people who bought long-term care insurance from me were because they witnessed what they were doing, taking care of the sandwich generation, right? The people who are raising their children, taking care of their parents. Those were the people who were like, I don't want to do this to somebody that I love, that I'm here for, that's taking care of me. It's just understanding your circumstances and having conversations and understanding that you can have a conversation with a friend, you can have a conversation with your hairdresser, you can have a conversation with your sister or your mom, but your circumstances are your circumstances and they're unique to you. And as women,
Sure.
we're going to rush out and handle our best friend, we're going to help our kids, we're going to help our parents, we're going to help our children, and we worry about us last. And we're here to tell you you can't do that because life is going to happen. And I want you to be empowered about your life and the decisions that you make. And I want you to live financially fearless. We're given but one life. So I want you to live it, and I want you to live an incredible one. But it's making sure the things that we buy insurance on our cell phones, we buy insurance on trips when we go on vacation. We spend more
Mhm.
time planning for a 2-week long vacation, from how are we going to get there? What are we going to do? What hotel are we going to stay in? We'll spend 2 weeks planning it, and we won't spend an hour to sit with a financial professional to plan our life.
Oh,
That
Jennifer,
has
I
to
feel
be
so seen right now.
that has to be flipped, right? That you have to flip
Yeah.
around, because if you want to be able to take the trips and go see the grandbabies and be able to keep your life intact the way it is, you have to plan for life. It is going to happen. And I'm just telling you, as somebody who's sat across the table for 2 decades from people who didn't plan properly until they met me, how devastating life was for them and how different it could have looked. So if you don't take anything from this conversation other than start with picking up the phone and calling Kate. That's all you got to do. It's literally having it right now. This is a very general seminar workshop for you just to kind of know that you are not alone, but to take it more personal, to talk about your story, to be able to literally own it, live in it, live the life you are meant to. You just have to take the next step, and you have to plan, and you can start small, and don't be afraid to ask questions, knows what's out there. And it's not something you have to go in and take care of everything at once. Because I know as women, we're not going to do that, right? We're
Oh,
not.
oh my goodness. It's too much in
Too
one
much.
sitting. There's no way that anyone could digest all that.
Exactly. So
So
just
it's
have the conversations, and literally the number one thing you have to do to have the life you've always wanted is plan for it. That's the number one thing.
Mm.
I do want to let everyone know that we have a question that came in. When we speak with someone special to us and they then realize that they need help, where do they go? Who do they go to for the help? I'm going to say call Kate at vitafinancial.com,
Yes.
but
I'm going to say to call Kate at
but
vitafinancial.com.
but seriously, when we need help, we need to support each other. We need to lift each other up. And if you don't know who to recommend or how to help your friend, I'm grateful you asked the question, because it is important that we're even looking out for our loved ones or our sisters, or we got to look out for each other.
It is a great question, and I just caution everybody by the fact that take advice from people who are qualified to really give it. It's great to
Yes.
get advice from your friends, your neighbor, the person you sit next to at church, your hairdresser, your nail tech, whoever. Get as much advice as you need, but don't let them have a say in your life. Make sure you're sitting down and you're working with somebody like Kate. Call Kate at Vita and have that conversation, because she's going to be neutral, right? It's not going to be a friend that's pulling you in a direction to say, well, I did this, you should do this, or this person did this and you should do this. You're going to be sitting with somebody and they're going to sit and say, here's your options, here's the pros and cons, but here with what you've shared to me, knowing your personality, knowing what it is you're trying to accomplish, these are the strategies, the products, the strategies. That's simple. It's figuring out what you're trying to accomplish and then using people and using Kate to sit there and say, perfect, we're going to put all the pieces into place. So it's okay to hear what everybody has to say, but just don't let them be the one that drives you into a direction that may not be a fit for you. It's not going to reach your goals. It's theirs.
Absolutely.
I totally appreciate the fact that there is the option of call Kate at vitafinancial.com, but I also want to make sure that we are taking into consideration that I'm not alone. I have an amazing team behind me and supporting us as women to even have this conversation and share it with you. So, I'm happy to be the conduit. I'm happy to be the translator. I'm happy to be an ear, a shoulder. It's taken that first step. And, if you're ready to take that step, I'd love to help. Reach out anytime. I hate to say, call Kate at vitafinancial.com. We want to make your financial goals happen together.
And you're right, we do have all that support, Kate. I just want to touch on the fact that we wouldn't be having this conversation. We would not be here tonight if it weren't for the support that we have of our colleagues at Vita Financial. And that includes an awful lot of men who are there. They believe in us. They lift us up. They think that we are worthy. And that's why we are here. We are absolutely here because we have their support. And you know what? We support them too. We lift them up too.
And we have more sisters too. Catherine is a sister. Jennifer is, gonna be, an honorary Vita sister. I think it's just that having the comfort and be brave. Just have the conversation, ask the question, even if the person you're asking doesn't have the answer. Maybe they know who to suggest you go talk to. Maybe that's it. But no, you're not alone. It is difficult. It is not going to be easy at all. And it's going to be a long process. I also want to make sure I give full disclosure on that it is going to be a long
Yeah.
process. It's going to be a lot to digest, but you don't have to go through it alone. When life forces you to pivot, we're here to pivot with you. If we haven't answered everyone's questions, if you have questions, we are going to be following up with our attendees after the fact. I think it's important that we keep this conversation going. My goal is to make sure that we do. I feel fairly confident that Wendy and Jennifer and Catherine will continue to have these conversations as well.
Absolutely.
But I really cannot thank everyone for attending. I cannot thank this panel enough. My respect, my gratitude is for you all, and not only for you all, but also for all of the women in our lives that came before us and that are going to come after us. We got to stick together, and we got to make sure we're working together.
Empowering each other, lifting each other up, handing that helping hand to anybody who needs it, right? It's
Yeah.
right here. You just have to take
Yeah.
it. We'll help you through it.
Ladies, before we wrap up, there's another question that came in, and I don't know if you want to answer it. Kate, and Wendy, if you want to give your thoughts on this. I have a great 401k going, but I'm single with no children. I have struggled with an emergency fund. How do you balance being 9 years from retirement with emergency funds and savings?
I think that is such,
It's a good
I don't want to
question.
say it's a typical comment at all, because that doesn't feel good either. But I think the important aspect is to really take a look at the big picture. You can't put things in a silo. You can't say, oh, just budget, or start an emergency savings. You really have to look at the big picture to make sure you've got everything in place. And that's how you're going to have comfort in knowing that if you take care of something over here, you're not forgetting this important aspect over here.
Probably
I'm
also
not sure if,
a great question too, just to, being able to sit down and talk with the person face to face so that you do get a
yeah,
better
yeah,
financial picture. So I would definitely, whoever sent that message in, great question, great concern. Definitely
yes.
reach out to Kate so she can dig in a little deeper and be able to better answer that question.
Exactly. Then we need to know more about your story so that the help that you get is tailored to you.
I, want to make sure that there is no more questions. I know we kind of wrapped up a little bit sooner than we expected to. Again, I think we're trying to do y'all a favor because it is so much to unwrap. But I think we're all truly passionate about making sure that we're helping women not feel alone, not feel like they have to figure this all out by themselves, even with modern day technology of AI. We got to have these conversations, and I want to keep this conversation going.
That's exactly right. Baby steps.
Yep.
Baby steps, keep going. And you've taken the first step, you've come here. And you should all applaud that. We could stick around,
Kudos
break
to
into
all
song
of
and
you.
dance, right?
Thank you
Everybody
for being here with
Yes.
us.
Catherine, thank you so much again for sharing your story. I know it cannot be easy to open up things that I cannot even imagine that you are even remotely healing from. Jennifer, thank you for sharing your story. It is a matter of, oh my goodness, certainly not something you prepared for. It's not something you could even continue to work doing. And Wendy, I cannot thank you enough for talking about your 401k, because it is one of those subjects that is not a familiar topic. It's not something that we as women talk about very often, because we're talking about purses, just like Jennifer said earlier.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. I'm not saying we should take any of that back. That's, we can make a financial plan for those purses.
Exactly. It's the
Exactly.
lifestyle plan. It's a
Yes,
lifestyle
it
plan.
is.
Yes.
It is.
Love it.
It
Exactly
is.
right.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies, so much. Again, if there's any questions that are lingering, or you have after the fact, call Kate at vitafinancial.com is my email. You can certainly go to vitafinancial.com to go to our website. You can also see our bios and connect with us directly. And this isn't just for the women. This is also for the men. in our lives so that they understand a little bit more of our perspective, why we want to be included in these conversations, especially when it comes to the money. I know most women are handling the money. Most women are the CFO of the household. But we do want to make sure that we're including the men because, you know, we have men that we love that support us. We have women that we love that support us. But sometimes it's scary to take that first step, but take the step. Thank you everyone for attending. And I hope y'all have a fantastic night. And we'll look forward to seeing you soon and having this conversation continue.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.